All right, everybody, thank you for tuning in. This is My Financial Health Show. Lives do change right here. And I am Dr. Niki V, and we thank you for tuning in to My Financial Health Show. We hope that you will continue to tune in and be a part of what God is doing right here and right now. We're excited to be able to come into and talk to you about the various things that we're going to talk to you about. I also want you to know that if you are in the South Florida area, I am getting ready to do a grand liftoff, and I've got about 10 slots, 10, pretty much. I have to check, but I think there's about 10 slots. So if you want to be with me for the Guts Weekend, Tampa Bay Leadership, we're going to be going to Lakeland, Florida, and that's this Friday and Saturday. So we're going to go up Friday, we'll stay overnight, come back on Saturday. We'll be back in time for everybody to go to church on Sunday morning. And I would love to have as many of you who want to be a part of that to come. And so I am going to be working with those of you who desire to go. So there will be some expense on your part, but I'm planning to take care of a part of it as well. So if you want to be a part of the Tampa Bay Leadership, that's Tampa Bay Leadership Weekend, just text TBLS, right, to 954-554-6755. All right, so for those of you who are looking on social media, but you've got to be in the Fort Lauderdale area. Otherwise, I mean, I can also, if you're not in the Fort Lauderdale area, you're going to have to find a way to get there. But for those of you who are in the Fort Lauderdale area, I will be getting to you all that way. Okay, so TBLS is what you're going to be texting. All right, TBLS is what you're going to text. TBLS. All right, and text that to 954-554-6755 TBLS, and I will contact each and every one of you who text that to me, and we will have a conversation about how we can get you to be a part of the weekend with us. I want to have as many of you who can to come with me, and like I said, I have about somewhere between 7 to 10 slots open. So I want to make sure that I get as many of you that want to go to be there, and we'll talk about your situation and everything like that, depending on what you got going on. But TBLS, text that to 954-554-6755. That's TBLS, 954-554-6755. By the way, if there's anyone who wants to call me or talk to me today on the broadcast, the number to call is 954-561-1553. And but nevertheless, however, we want to talk to you today about some things, and so we're going to share with you a couple of different things. And the first thing is, in terms of my financial health, is we cannot outgive God. I want you to understand we cannot outgive God. So many times we find ourselves between a rock and a hard place, like we like to say, and we think that we're not able to do certain things because we're not financially able, or we feel like whatever. Listen, you can and you're able to do it if you'd like. What you have to remember is that you cannot outgive God. So if you are lending to the poor, if you are helping to make things work, if you are making a difference in the lives of the people, if you are putting others above yourself, you cannot outgive God. God will not allow you to do that. God is going to then return to you 100-fold of what you are doing. So don't be worried about, or don't be weary in well-doing. Ye shall reap if you faint not. So it's impossible to mention receiving without thinking about giving, right? Because My Financial Health Show, we're trying to build wealth. I want to create first-generation cash flow millionaires, I'm interested in making sure that everyone in the kingdom has what they need for when the people begin to run into the kingdom. We ought to have our own stuff. We ought to be able to be in a position where we can help the people of God out. And so I want us to set ourselves up as a community where we're able to have everything in common, so that when things are going on, there will be none which are a part of our wealth building community that will have lack, right? We will all have something, because if no matter what, if all we have as a group is just a piece of chicken, don't worry. We're going to make some kind of food with that chicken and everybody going to eat. Get me? We're not, whatever we've got it together so that we can work together, so that we can build together, so that we can do things together. Therefore, we achieve success together. So again, I can't really talk a lot about wealth building if I don't begin to give you a study on giving, because the real way to make wealth is to actually give. And I do thank God for Steve. I think this was for sharing. I see different things flash across my screen, but it doesn't stay long because I'm working with several social media platforms. However, I do want you to understand that we are grateful for what we have, what we're able to do, and the fact that you guys are with us, and that you are listening, and that you are hearing, and that you are part of this My Financial Health, and that you are beginning to see how lives change right here. You can make a difference, and we can make a difference in the lives of one another. We've just got to come together, and it's time to come together like never before. The world is trying to get us as separated as possible, as separate as possible, as divided as possible. Time to come together. Now, giving illustrates a selfless behavior pattern that is rivaled by God's selflessness, right? So when we are not givers, right, that's why it says it's more blessed to have a spirit of giving than a spirit of receiving. If you always want the handout, but you're not willing to put some skin in the game, then you have the wrong spirit. I know somebody said, wait a minute, but what if I don't have anything? You're supposed to still put something in. Even David said, I don't want to worship God if it didn't cost me anything. Right? Because they wanted him to do something and it wasn't going to cost me. He said, no, I've got to have some skin in the game. I got to have some cost. It's got to be something that I've put in order for this to have value. Because if I don't put anything in it, then how much value does it have to me? Right? Because I'm not making any sacrifice. I'm not putting any input in. So we have to understand that, yes, if you're going to be selfless, or if you have to have a spirit of giving, not a spirit of receiving. And then when you have a spirit of giving, it's a cycle, right? The currency, right? Because that's what money is. It's currency, or wealth is. It's currency. It has a current, right? However, the current gets cut off if you put up a dam, right? Now, somebody said she cussed. No, that's what the word is for when you put up something that stops the flow, right? It's a dam. It stops the flow. And so, therefore, you have cut off your currency, right? So if you stop being a giver, right? So you haven't put anything, you haven't cast your bread upon the water. So if you didn't cast your bread upon the water, in other words, if you didn't put bread on the bread chips, if you didn't put some investment into something, letting it go forth and go out, then what's going to return back to you? Nothing. Nothing can come back if you put nothing out. You've got to put something in the water so something can come back to you. If there's nothing put out, don't expect anything to come back in, because you've not deposited anything for anything to grow. So we have to understand that in order to be able to experience the fullness of what's coming in, you've got to make an investment. You've got to put something into what you're doing. And I would love to have some time to sit down with you all so I can help you to see how you can set up for yourself, because you can't really borrow yourself out of debt, but you can give yourself into a wealthy place. I'm going to say that one more time. You can't borrow yourself out of debt, but you can give yourself into a wealthy place, right? You can invest, you can be a giver, you can have the planting that will cause you to be able to get into a wealthy place. It may not look like it at the time. Then the enemy tries to get you to feel like, oh, you're not doing it right, or what you're doing is actually, you got to go back to the plan where you're doing usury, where you're causing people to get under your thumb, where you're taking advantage of people, where you're manipulating folks. But that's not the will of God. If you want to see the wealth of the righteous, then you're going to have to understand the principle of God, the laws of God. Now, I know somebody said, but I didn't see anybody making money that way. I see people making money the other way. Well, lots of people make money the other way, but they're not wealthy. In other words, they don't have the currency. That's why they're constantly worrying. That's why they're constantly trying. It's not a flow. It's a fight, right? So which would you like, the flow or the fight? right? I want the flow. I don't want to fight. Let's go with the flow, right? And the flow comes because of your mindset, how you believe or what you think about money and how you think money is supposed to be achieved, gotten, done. And sometimes we think money is achieved or gotten by things that literally create a deficit, right? So you do get rich, right? You do get something in the bank account, but you're constantly trying to figure out how to hold it, how to get it, how to keep it, because it's always something trying to draw out of it, and you don't understand the principle of it. But if you are of a giving mindset, you're not worried about the ebbs and flows, because you understand it's currency, right? So it's a currency. There are ebbs and flows, and you get that. And so you're like, listen, I might be in a down position right now, but when it comes back in, I'm going to be afloat. So I'm going to make it so that my currency, it becomes more steady. But I have to understand the concept, otherwise I miss it, and therefore it's not as steady as it needs to be. So there are 4 different types of giving in the Bible that deal directly with our finances. 1 is tithes, 2 is offerings, next is first fruits, and then alms. Now, I know some of you all use things interchangeably. You mix them all together and you think, oh, it's all giving. Well, it is all giving, but they're different types, and they have different properties. There's different things that come from when you give the different ways. There's different results based on your giving, right? Based on which giving you do. Like some people say, I don't have to give tithes. I'm not going to give tithes. I don't give tithes. I'm not into giving tithes. I don't do tithes. No worries, but there's a principle behind tithes. So if you do tithes, you're going to reap the principle or the law of tithing. If you don't do tithes, you're going to get the curses or the repercussions or the whatever of not tithing, right? And somebody said, well, gosh, are you trying to curse me? No, I'm just saying that there are certain things that are the result of following the instructions of the methods of giving. So now, most people don't understand that giving is not an option. Right? Being a giver, because again, the currency of money, it's not an option. If you want to see money flow, unless some of us like to fight with our money, but if you want to see money flow, if you want to see blessings flow, then you're going to deal with the principles that allow the floodgates to be open. If you don't, then you're going to have the floodgates closed on you. You're not going to be able to see. You'll see some drips and you'll see some drabs, but you won't see the fullness of what you want from God. So each giving has a design and has a return. In the same way, like let's say financially, right? You can do mutual funds, you can do annuities, you can do stocks, you can do CDs, you can do savings. They're all different ways. And if you want to have some type of investment where money's coming back to you, you need to do one of them. Right? You need to do one of them if you want to 401ks, whatever. You need to do one of them if you want to see the results where you have some savings going somewhere and something doing something. However, if you don't understand what they're for and how they work, you might put money into one thinking you're going to get something that you're not going to get. Thinking you're going to have certain results. Like when you put money into a CD rather than a jumbo CD, because those two are CDs, but they're different, right? CD, jumbo CD. Sounds the same, doesn't it? Sound like it's the same thing. Not. Jumbo CD is an investment instrument that's regulated by the securities industry. Regular CD is regulated by the banking industry. So the results of what you get back are based on interest or dividends or things that are based on what you're investing in and how you're investing. Now, the CD that you invest into, what the bank gives you a return on, they're probably investing it into a jumbo CD, or they're investing into something that has other properties. So they take your money, make money with it, and then they give you a portion of that money back as a thank you for letting them use your money to make more money. So again, most people don't understand that it's not an option. Giving is not an option; it's a command, and that each type has a design and a return. Depending on which one you do, which one you've done, how you do it will determine what you're going to get back. What do you obtain from that design? What is the return from that? A regular CD may make, depending on how much money you put in and blah, 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 may only give you a 2% return. And you got to have it locked in for a long time. And you got to have a pretty good amount put in that CD. But anyway, that's a high-end CD. Then you've got what you can make, like 9, 12 with a money market or no, mutual fund. Money market can be somewhere CDs. So when we're talking about this, you got to understand what is your return? What type of return you're going to get back? Again, giving, same thing. Tithes, your alms, all of those things that we were talking about, first fruits, offering. They have the type of giving, and it has a type of return. All right, tithing and first fruits. Learning the command assured us that we could never outgive God. No matter what we do, we're not going to be able to outgive God. So I'm going to give you a brief study of those 4 types of giving, and the top of that, or to the changeover. So I'm going to get there before I switch over to my next set of topics. This is why we have to do what we have to do. We appreciate it. Yes, yes. Appreciate you, Shaq. You're doing great stuff. Tithing is associated with obedience and demonstrates to God you are aware of what belongs while acknowledging what you are to do with his portion, the first tenth. See, in Malachi 3:8, we are asked a very simple question. Really kind of simple. Will a man rob God? Right? And my simple question to you as my financial health coach, and this being my financial health show, and being a wealth builder, and wanting to see you all become first generation cash flow, is will you rob yourself? Right? Because will you rob God? People basically go, nah, I'm not going to rob God. I can't rob. If I rob God, God don't play fair. He can cut off your air supply. Right? So we're not really scared. We're scared of robbing God, most of us. If we understand that we're robbing him, we won't do it. Right? But will we rob ourselves? We cheat ourselves of the best life we can possibly have because we don't understand how money works. Will we cheat ourselves because we don't quite understand how money works? So, what God is the question when it comes to concerning tithing. And then the question is rhetorical, describing the cause of missing the mark by not following basic law, and consequently the result of correction. So why is tithing so important for us? Why would that be something that I'm talking about? As a matter of fact, as my financial, what would be the need for me to encourage you all to be tithers? Because if you want a first generation cash flow millionaire, you've got to have the right mindset, to have the right function, or why you are one. Right? If you want to be wealthy for selfish reasons, you will, but you're also going to be always at a place where the money controls you. You want to be in the position where you control the money. There's a difference. It doesn't seem like it, and I know many of you say, I don't really care, just give me the money. I'm saying you want to make sure that you fall in the right place, because I don't know about you, but I don't want money controlling me. I don't want money being my God. I want to control money, because money don't have the authority over me. God does. God has authority over me. I'm going to follow his principles, and his principles are going to allow me to have the money to be able to do the work that he has put in my hands. Understand the difference? Maybe not, but don't worry. It'll come. It'll register. Tithing is an insurance policy that rebukes Satan's plan to make you barren. Tithing is insurance, right? You have insurance on your car, you have insurance on your phone, you have insurance on your house. Hopefully you have some insurance on your life. Some of y'all don't. I wish you would. Matter of fact, check me out, DM me, call. Let's look at what you covered, right? Let's make sure you have your car covered, your home covered, your health covered, right? Health insurance. As a matter of fact, that's phenomenal. I want you guys to, if you're a senior, if you're 65, or if you don't care, I need you to contact me. I want to sit down and get you the plan. And when I'm talking about sitting down with you and talking to you and giving you understanding, and then allowing you to make a decision that best suits you for your financial health, for your health care as a senior or someone on Medicare. Because oftentimes you go back and forth, not knowing who can do what you want, what you need. But if you sit down and counsel with, and I've got agents that you can sit down with that will actually talk you through the healthcare system, that will listen to you about what you're dealing with and what's the best supplement or whatever situation that can actually help you get the most out of your health care and not just feel like you're just being thrown to the wolves. Right? We don't want you to have that situation. So tithing is an insurance, right? It says, I'm going to make sure that Satan gets you barren. All you got to do is tithe. You invest the tithe, give it unto God, ministry, be a blessing to that ministry, tithe as unto God, and you've basically made sure that your insurance policy is in effect, and Satan is not going to make you barren. You're going to be fruitful. Many of you all wonder why you're not fruitful, why you're barren, why you can't do stuff, why stuff ain't growing, why you can't kill nothing and won't nothing die. You haven't been making your insurance payments against catastrophe at the mercy of Satan. Start making those policy payments through the tithes. It opens the window of heaven, protecting and transporting resources to you during drought and famine. Lastly, tithing means the needs of the ministry that you serve. Right? Next is offering. While tithing is an insurance policy on 90% of your income, giving an offering is a spiritual seed that you plant. So we have your insurance, right? So, right? And then we invest the difference. Right? So we want to, you've been dealing with things in life where Satan seems to be ripping you up and putting money down the rabbit hole. You don't even know how to get down the rabbit hole. But we got you back on tithing, so we've got 90% insured. We got it like an annuity. It's covered. It's going to pay you for the rest of your life. As long as you keep putting away for it's going to take care of you for the rest of your life. Now you have the spiritual seed. You have your investments that God openly rewards your efforts. For example, farmers do not plant knowing the outcome, but the weather is a variable and is out of their control. Although the weather is important, consistency plays a bigger factor. A farmer must plant seeds consistently. You must invest consistently. You must save consistently. You must make offerings consistently. It can't be hit or miss. And put 3 seeds in the ground and something was bad or something was wrong, whatever, there's a good possibility that I'm not going to get the harvest I was hoping for because of those 3 seeds might bear fruit. What's going to happen with those seeds? We don't know where they're going to land, where they're going to fall, how, because I'm scattering this on. However, if I take bunches liberally, offering liberally, investing liberally, saving liberally, right? In due season, I will reap if I faint not. You got to keep going. Well, didn't get nothing this year. Something didn't happen this time. I'm not getting what I seems to be missing something. I'm not getting what I was expecting. Yeah, don't worry. You shall reap a harvest of blessings if you faint not. If you come with us on this financial health plan, on this financial show, be a part of this finance, because I'm Niki V right here. You begin getting into the plan, going on the road trip with me, and getting on the game plan, the financial health plan, to make sure that you're financially safe and sound. And my plan is not just on finances, it's holistic. We help you to be well across the board. If you give that opportunity chance and you, right? Because sometimes we want to just kind of get in and see it happen overnight. Very few things go overnight. Children, somebody pregnant in the next day, 2, you gotta wait 9 months before something come out, and then after that, sometimes it might come a little early, sometimes it might come a little late, but either way, it's a month. When they come out, they're not done. That's a sprout. It's still not the whole thing. You got years before it actually becomes something viable. Something to society. But yet we want overnight success with everything else. Stick with me. Hang with me. Let's work together. Go down the road. And you reap the harvest of blessing if you faint not. You're going to get things. Offering implies whatever sown, the giver shall see a return of 30, even 100-fold. Giving is an offering is spiritual, but it demand on your effort in the natural. So it's a spiritual, but it actually has a natural recourse. right? It has a natural implication. Whereas tithing is insurance on that spiritual thing, so that the enemy can't run roughshod the rest of your stuff. We rebuke the devourer because of our tithing. Because of our giving, we create a necessity. We put a demand on the things that we have in, and we say, because I'm a giver, because I have a spirit of giving, not that of receiving, I put a demand on the atmosphere, on the universe, if you will. I put a demand on everything that is in the flesh realm, and I tell it, you have to produce. You can't fail, because not only have I tithed, which means some insurance, but I've also given an offering, which means I have an assurance that something has to come through, because I didn't just give a little bit, I kept giving. And so because my giving has been consistent, it's gonna produce something. It's got to produce something. It's something. Therefore, when you participate in offering, you should have something for God. Award, a project you're working on, a business you're starting, scholarships, grants you've applied for. By giving an offering, you give from your portion as you purpose. If you don't have nothing and you're giving, you're going to find yourself, or in other words, if you're not doing anything, if you have no plans, if you have nothing that you're waiting for, there's no expectation, giving will seem fruitless, because there's nothing expecting to grow. In other words, if you seed out there and you don't expect, you're going to have fruitless life, because you didn't expect something to be produced. You're wondering what's going on, and you're like, what happened? I don't have nothing yet. You don't have nothing yet because you refused to see the fruit produce. You don't have you're looking for. You're just throwing stuff out there. You have to have a focus. What is it that I'm looking for? I'm looking to see my people blessed. I'm looking to see this generation change. I'm looking to see. And so I give, knowing that in my, that currency, that reflection, that whole rotation is going to produce some fruit. It's going to bring something to pass. Now, when I come back, I'm going to talk about first fruits and alms, but we do have to take a break, because I've been talking for a minute, and quite frankly, I know how y'all get. You get bored, you get tired, you're looking like, she's just still talking. She's just still. So let me go ahead and take this break, and a little station identification, if you will, and we'll be right back after this.
Hey there, I'm Lance Bass, and this is Chip. And for more than 1 years, American Humane has been protecting animals in times of crisis. To me, your pet means the world to you, and you want to keep them safe when disaster strikes. American Humane members are always prepared to rescue animals in danger, but you can also help. To learn about disaster planning and keeping your animals safe, please visit American Humane.
Sorry guys, I forgot I was supposed to be putting on a little bit of quartet heaven for y'all. I said, somebody told me stuff, and you always playing everything else. Nikki, can you play something that sound like it's saved? I said, okay, I'll try. So here we go with I think hopefully it'll sound like it's saved. And it's from Quartets in My DNA, hosted by Paul Porter. And Resting Easy is the song. So I want y'all to rest easy, y'all. Rest easy. we want to have everything in the will of God and working in a way that we can rest easy. We don't want to be resting. We want to rest easy. And God told us that the way of a transgressor is hard. So stop transgressing and start walking in the pathway of God. By the way, for those of you who are just tuning in, this is my Financial Health Show. I'm Dr. Niki V, and lives change right here. Right here. You hear me? Right here. And for those of you who are listening in earlier in the broadcast, or who aren't listening and who missed it, I want you to know that I want you to be with us at the Guts weekend, the Guts Leadership Weekend, and that's this weekend, as a matter of fact. And I've got about 8 slots, 10 slots or whatever left that I want to get fulfilled. I want to make sure and get somebody on. And of course, I can take some other people, but I just want to get these 10 slots locked in. I just want to get them locked in. So if you're in the South Florida area, and even if you're not, we can always talk about it. Just text to 954-554-6755. That's right, text to 954-554-6755. The letters TBLS. That's TBLS. And we will definitely get you on board for what we're getting ready to do on this weekend. It's the 8th and the 9th, and we're going to have a phenomenal time. We're going to be with people who have 6 to 7 figure incomes, and we're going to be talking with them, and they're going to be talking with us, and we're going to be able to get a little information and begin to learn some things that you can only learn from people who are at that status, because they know from experience. They know exactly what it takes. So if you're in the South Florida area, because then I can help with the transportation and everything else. If not, no worries. If you can get there. Otherwise, if you're close to there, maybe you are in Lakeland, but you just don't have tickets. Just text TBLS to me, and we will connect so that I can get you into the conference with me, and we can all just come together and be a part of what God is doing in this place. So, my Financial Health Show, Dr. Niki V, lives do change right here, and we are talking about the fact that we can't outgive God, and the fact that giving has different ways. There's different methods for giving, there's different ways of giving, and each giving has a different return. And understanding that makes a difference, because sometimes we do one and not the other, or we don't do all of it, or we miss out on what we're supposed to get because we don't understand how we're supposed to give, right? So first fruits. I know some of y'all say, isn't that tithing still? Well, not really, but we're going to get to it. When you give your first fruits offering, you are demonstrating unselfishness and gratefulness for what God has done for you, how far God has brought you, and where he is leading you. You trust him with the very first fruits of your harvest. Now, first fruit is a Jewish feast held in spring, and the 3rd day after Passover, and the 2nd day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It was a celebration and thanksgiving of God's provision, right? Again, that's the brand new year, basically. It's an act of acknowledgement of deliverance from Egypt and thanksgiving getting to the promised land. Now, according to Leviticus 23:9-14, no grain was to be harvested until first fruits had been given, or no income touched until your first portion was presented and offered. I'm going to say that one more time. In Leviticus, this is not me. This is not my concept. It's God's concept. No grain was to be harvested until first fruits had been given, or no income touched until your first portion was presented and offered. So the first instance had to be dealt with before you could do anything. So in giving first fruits, it's a measure of faith, and it's how you propose to give in your heart, or how you purpose to give in your heart. Some give a full month of income in the new year. Some offer their first paycheck of the new year, and others the first of their crops. It's believing God. This is all I have. All I got. This is the very beginning of the season, and the first thing that I've gotten, I'm going to give it to you, God. I'm giving the whole thing to you, and then from there, I will wait for my next crop and give from there. Now that's faith. That's real belief in God. That's real. I believe God wholeheartedly. I'm like, yeah, Bob, You right. I'm grateful and I thank you because I didn't have to have this. You didn't have to give it to me. I could have missed this altogether, but because you have, I'm giving it to you, God. I'm giving it all to you. This is the first increase in my raise. Okay, no problem. I'm giving you this whole thing. I just got a raise this year. I just got a raise this month, and so this check that with the first raise in it, a whole check goes to you. What? I know y'all saying not me, but you want to know why you're having again. The floodgates can open if you know what the giving is for and why giving. The next thing, of course, is alms. And I know some people, an alms offering, we talked about offering earlier before, right? Because tithes, we often think is first fruits. And offering, we often think is alms. Let me help you. We're going to go in a little bit further about that. And for those of you just tuning in, this is my Financial Health Show. I'm Dr. Niki V. Lives do change here. I said I'm going to talk to you about how to give because in order for you to know how to get, you've got to know how to give. In other words, in order for you to know how to be wealthy, you have to know what your wealth is for. Your wealth is to be a giver, right? It's not to be a grab and get. It's to be able to be a blessing to others. So, alms is giving is synonymous with compassion, right? It's like being a good human being, right? In the Greek word, alms can be translated to pity or mercy, right? Alms is when you give to the poor, expecting nothing in return and allowing God to become the repayment plan, right? So when we read about Cornelius and his alms coming before God, it said that God's basically saying his compassion and his mercy, his giving to humanity, his being a humanitarian, his being a philanthropist has come before me, and I know that he's got a good heart. He's a good person. He just needs to get me, right? He doesn't have me. He has the principles that I have in earth, but he doesn't have me. So I need you to go down to Cornelius' house and give him me, because he's got the other stuff down. He just doesn't have me. And some people who are wealthy, they don't have God, but they do have alms. They understand that concept. And God says, I want you to go before them and I want you to show them you're doing great as far as giving. Now I need you to get me. So if you get me, you're going to do better. And now you're going to get more. You're not going to just be halfway. You're not going to just be partial. You're not going to just have a little bit. You're going to have the whole thing. In other words, you're going to be able to experience the fullness of wealth, the fullness of abundance, because you're not just doing one type of giving or one kind of giving, but you're doing the whole thing. You have the whole thing. You're not just following the plan, but you literally are in relationship with me, which means you get bonus. In other words, you're not just doing the law. You're not just doing the plan. They're not just operating in the principle, but you're operating in a way that actually causes the very essence of God to be a part of who you are. So being an alms giver, you are helping to take care of those who can't do it themselves. That's when you're doing those gifts for the poor or helping to feed those who are hungry. This is just when you do it, man, that's alms. That's not, you're offering church. Alms, those people who can't. Sometimes those people who can't may be in church. Nevertheless, the alms is to those who need the help. It's compassion. It's mercy. It's looking on someone and knowing I can make their life better simply by the little bit that I give. Alms is that dollar that you might give, because everybody doesn't do it, but that dollar that you might give to that person that's standing on the street corner. Yeah, I know some of them people they're not right. They're lying to you. They're scammers. The problem is you got to know which is which. And how do you know? Do you know? You might not. You might. And just because you find out or because you know doesn't necessarily mean it takes away the obligation to give alms. Now, I know some of y'all say, I'm not doing that. Because if think about it, if that person's making big money, which they probably are, but they're not robbing, they're not stealing. I mean, if they see 1,000 people a day, and it's really kind of hard work, and they're standing up there, and 1,000 people, well, more than 1,000 people pass them, but 1,000 people decide to have some compassion, decide to give alms, right? That means they made $1,000 for the day. I know somebody said, I ain't giving them no money then. Forget it. My God. Or even if it was quarters, dimes, nickels. the potential for them to be able to glean and get something because of your mercy and your kindness, so they don't have to rob, steal, do something weird. Okay, so maybe some of them have a big old mansion somewhere, and you don't have nothing. You don't have, you basically don't even have a house. The attitude, remember I talked about at the beginning. Do you have a spirit of giving or a spirit of receiving? Which one is it? Right? Because the scripture says it's better to have a spirit of giving than it is of receiving, because that's where the blessing is at. When you're a giver, you sow because the currency. If you're always the handout, eventually that's going to shut down. And if you're always like this, not willing to give, it's going to shut down. So which one do you propose that you're going to do? How do you propose you're going to live? Be merciful. Have pity. Look on people. Don't make judgments. Don't try to figure out whether or not they really are or really not. If you have it, if it's available, if you can, that $1, it may multiply for them. Maybe everybody that they pass by that day, because maybe 2,000, 3,000 people pass them by, and by the end of the day, they've got $3,000. Now that makes you feel bad, because you're like, hey, I don't even make $3,000 in a day, but you ain't standing out in the hot sun. You ain't starving. You ain't getting burnt. You ain't getting spat on. You ain't getting looked at like you ain't nobody. So understand, there's a price to pay for everything. But do you have the love of God that says, I'm going to be merciful. I'm going to show some pity. I'm going to give alms. Because alms is what actually shows to God. Your offering may not. Your offering may never, God may never see your offering and go, ooh, you've offered so much that it's become something great. But your alms will. Your alms will go before God, and it will be like, wow. God said, you've been so merciful to so many people. You've been a blessing to so many people. Because you didn't just give to the church. You didn't just make an offering. You didn't just tithe. You didn't just do first fruits. But you were so generous to people who couldn't help you back. People who couldn't benefit you. Because sometimes when we do stuff at church or in churches, it is about benefiting us. Right? Because you want to be seen giving. You want them to receive your giving, and then you want them to acknowledge you, and then you want them to remember it, and then you want them to be able to do something on your behalf. So you're really just making an investment. But alms is like, hey, listen, I know that this person is never going to be able to pay me back. I know I'm never going to be able to get anything from them. It doesn't matter, though, because I also know that they're hurting. I know that they need. I know that they have something that they got to get. And so I'm not just doing it because of what I'm going to get back from them. I'm doing it because the love of God constrains me. So I'm going to give my alms. And God said, when you do that, now you've made me a debtor, because God says I'm surety for the poor. I'm the one that signs. I'm the one that signs on that. I'm the one that gives on that. I'm the one that makes that check. I'm the one that says I'm the underwriter for the poor. I'm going to take care of that. So now God says, because you were giving alms, I owe you. Now, if you ain't never done nothing else, if you ain't never gave no other kind of way, if you ain't never had no kind of spirit for giving, you ought to really do alms, right? Because the one thing you definitely want to have is God owing you. Because God he's going to pay. He's on time. He doesn't miss. He's always there. And that keeps that currency rolling. Keeps that currency going, right? This is, of course, my Financial Health Show, Lives Do Change, right here. I thank God for my sister and DJ Device, and my sis, Benita. Yeah. Being in the room. All of y'all listening over social media. We've got to make sure that we know that God's our provider. And because he's our provider, he provides us to be a source. To be someone that is able to be the way that a resource that they can go to, because the love of God is in us, and they can come to us and go, wow. So that's what it's like to have someone that has compassion and mercy. I remember a simple gesture I did. I had some extra, not used, not whatever, it's in the box, masks. And a young lady who was pregnant, they were telling her, you don't have a mask on, you can't enter the building, you need to buy one of these masks, or you need to whatever, or go over there, or do this. They wanted to make her jump through a bunch of hoops. So I went into the car, got my box, and I said, hey, this is my box, brand new box of masks. I don't know if you guys sell them here or not, but I'm giving it to her so she can have some masks. She was amazed. She was thrilled. She couldn't even thank me enough and I said, no worries, to God be the glory. And I kept on going. Didn't spend a whole lot of time. Didn't try to make a big moment out of it. Didn't try to make a big power play. Because it's not about making the power play. It's about the only thing that she needed to know was God loves her and God cares. And I believe she got that point. She probably was like, who was that masked woman? Because I did have my mask on. But it didn't matter. What was important was that I had something. She had a need. I was able to fulfill it. And I didn't make a big deal out of it. Just, there it is. We've got to be better at doing that as people of God. We've got to be better at giving alms. Be better to obey the laws of giving so we can receive the return from the laws of giving. And so this is what I teach for my Wealth Builders group. This is what I share with my Wealth Builders. This is what we share with one another. I invite you to be a part of the Wealth Builders group. I'd love to keep on getting, and I want to make sure that I have because I'm putting in motion for those first generation cash flow millionaires. And I want more of you to be available. I want to get more of you in. If you want to be that first generation cash flow millionaire who's got the heart of God, who knows what to do with the money when you get it, definitely be a part with me. And if you want to be a part of this weekend, we're going to be in Lakeland, Florida. Text the letters TBLS to 954-554-6755. Text the letters TBLS to 954-554-6755. Especially those of you who are in the South Florida area, because we'll ride up together and we'll, hang out in, lodging. We'll go to the conference together. We'll have food. We'll have fellowship. We'll have a great time. We'll learn and we'll glean from one another. And we'll come back and we'll have a great weekend. So it's the Guts Leadership Weekend. And we definitely want you to be there and want you to be a part of it if you want to. Text the letters TBLS to 954-554-6755. And of course, I'll get back to you. When I see those letters, I'll call you and we'll talk about how we can have that happen. If you're in the South Florida area, but you still want to do it and you want to get to Lakeland, no problem. Get to Lakeland and I'll make sure that you get in the conference. We'll hook up. We'll make arrangements so that we can hook up and get, connected so that we can all plug in together, because I do believe that our net worth is our network. And I want us to be able to network together so we can have the net worth to be able to have all things common, so we can do like the apostles did, and therefore no man lacked anything. So if you want to be in a place that no man lacked anything, be with us. Yeah, I know, sweetie, but you're gonna be where you gotta be. So I understand that you've got to be some places. I would have had you come, but I knew you had a trip on your own. So God bless you, woman of God. I really would have loved for you to be there to be a part of that impartation, because we're gonna just be spending time just listening and growing and developing. And I'm going to have some more retreats and different events that are going to be, and I want you all to be a part of it as well. It's necessary for us to grow. We've got to be the time is now for us to show the light of the lives, so that people can begin to see the world, the good works that we do, and glorify our Father which is in heaven. So I'm going to leave with some scripture verses that you can meditate on. And then you can begin to see things the way that it should be, and the way we ought to see it. So I'm coming from the New Living Translation, and we do thank God again for all of you who are listening to the broadcast. And we're just about getting to the part where I've got to cut off, and of course I got to cut off on the stream because I do use music that I don't have the rights to, and but I do have to cut off before they blank it out on me. I thank you again. However, I thank all of you. So Matthew 5:17, and we're going to go to 20 in the New Living Translation. It says, "Don't misunderstand why I have come. I didn't come to abolish or the writings of the prophets. No, their purpose. I tell you the truth, until heaven and earth disappear, not even the smallest detail of God's law will disappear until its purpose is achieved. I want to break right there. Not even for those of you who think that the law is done, that we're not. Well, God's not into that. He just wants you to just faith, and you just believe Him and your grace and the blood, and that's it. You ain't got to do nothing. I tell you the truth, until heaven and earth disappear, not even the smallest detail of God's law will disappear until its purpose is achieved. So if you ignore the commandment and teach others to do the same, you will be called the least in the kingdom. Anyone who obeys God's laws, teaches them, will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. But I warn you, unless your righteousness is better than the righteousness of the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees, you will never enter into the kingdom of heaven. So your righteousness has to exceed the righteousness of those who think that they're pious. Now, all unrighteousness, all unrighteousness is as filthy rags. That was also a reference to leaders, where they were actually, their unrighteousness was like filthy rags. They really didn't have any righteousness. So that's not really applicable. God actually believes that you have good righteousness if you follow His laws and His commands. For righteousness be His righteousness, and you can have the righteousness of God. Now, Malachi 3 and 8 through 12 in the New Living Translation, it says, should people cheat God? Right? Will a man rob God? Should people cheat God? Yet you have cheated me. And I told you before, not only is the question, should people cheat God, but should you cheat yourself? Right? But you ask, what do you mean when did we cheat you? You have cheated me of the tithe offerings due to me. You are under arrest, for your whole nation has cheated me. You've cheated me of the opportunity of even being able to be a blessing to you